Let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever said all the right things to a man, yet felt like he just didn't hear you? You weren't crazy, you just weren't speaking his language the right way. And today that's about to change. Welcome to the video that could completely shift how you connect with men, not by changing who you are, but by unlocking the high-value version of you that already exists. If you're tired of feeling like you're always initiating, over-explaining, or wondering why he pulls away when you're giving your best, you're in the right place, because high-value women don't chase, they attract, and they do it with words, energy, and presence. In the next few minutes, we're diving into the art of communication that creates deep attraction, emotional safety, and real connection. This isn't about games, manipulation, or being someone you're not. It's about speaking from a place of quiet power, a kind of feminine influence that makes the right man lean in and listen differently. And yes, when you talk like a high-value woman, the right man will love you for it. So whether you're dating, building something new, or rebalancing a current relationship, this video is your roadmap to speaking in a way that inspires admiration, trust, and real intimacy. Ready to stop guessing and start glowing? Let's get into how high-value women speak and why it changes everything. So what actually makes a woman high value? It's one of the most misunderstood concepts out there. A high-value woman isn't about looking perfect, being popular, or having a checklist of achievements. It's deeper, it's energetic, and it's undeniable. A high-value woman knows who she is, not because someone told her, but because she took the time to build that foundation from the inside out. Her worth doesn't rise or fall based on who texts her back, who likes her, or whether a man chooses her. She's already chosen herself, and that is magnetic. She's not afraid to set boundaries, not because she's cold or defensive, but because she respects her time, energy, and emotions. She doesn't over-explain, over-apologize, or overextend. She gives with intention, not out of fear of losing someone. A high-value woman doesn't seek validation, she reflects it. Her energy tells people how to treat her before she even says a word. She listens deeply, speaks with clarity, and doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She can hold her own without having to dominate, and she leads with softness without losing strength. And here's something most people miss. A high-value woman doesn't need to be busy to be valuable. She prioritizes joy, peace, play. She's not in a constant state of proving. Instead, she's in a state of being, and that's what draws people in. In relationships, she doesn't chase or beg for attention. She doesn't try to earn love. Her presence is the invitation. And the right man will recognize that, not because she tries harder, but because she stands out simply by being aligned, not available to just anyone. Being high value isn't a performance. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment, intention, and emotional self-respect. And the beautiful thing, it's not something you're born with, it's something you choose to cultivate. And in this video, you're going to learn how that choice shows up in how you speak. Because the way you talk to a man tells him how you see yourself. And when you see yourself as high value, he will too. Let's get real for a moment. The way many women talk to men, especially early on or during emotionally charged moments, often works against the connection they're trying to build. And the frustrating part, most of these mistakes are made with good intentions. One of the biggest mistakes women make is over-explaining or over-talking. This usually comes from a fear of being misunderstood, or a deep desire to be fully seen. But here's what often happens. Instead of drawing him closer, it overwhelms him. Men connect differently. They process differently. When you talk at him instead of with him, especially when you're leading with anxious energy, he may tune out, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels emotionally flooded. Less can be more. Another huge mistake is trying to control his emotional response. For example, if you share how you feel but attach expectations like, you should feel this way, or if you loved me, you would do this, it creates pressure instead of intimacy. High-value communication focuses on sharing your truth, not managing his reaction. Then there's the trap of passive aggressiveness, or testing him, saying things like, I guess you're too busy for me, or whatever, do what you want. These statements come from hurt, yes, but they also push men away emotionally. Instead of inviting closeness, they trigger defensiveness. A high-value woman doesn't test loyalty through sarcasm. She speaks clearly, calmly, and directly. even when she's hurt. Another mistake, oversharing too soon. Vulnerability is beautiful, but only when it's earned. Dumping your whole life story, childhood trauma, or relationship baggage on a man too early in the connection isn't deep. It's overwhelming. Emotional intimacy should be mutual and gradual, not one-sided and immediate. Let him earn access to the most tender parts of you. Many women also fall into performance mode, laughing more than they feel, acting cool with things they're not actually okay with, or pretending to be low maintenance when they actually have needs. This is a slow path to resentment. A high-value woman doesn't perform for connection. She stands in her truth and trusts the right person will resonate with it. Lastly, one of the most overlooked mistakes is talking from a place of fear rather than trust. Fear that he'll leave, fear that you're not enough, fear that expressing your standards will scare him off. That energy leaks into your words, your tone, your timing. And the truth is, nothing repels a high-quality man faster than a woman who doesn't see her own value. But the good news is, these mistakes are reversible. Communication isn't about perfection. It's about presence, awareness, and self-respect. When you shift from fear to confidence, from reactivity to calm expression, everything changes. And that's what we're building in this video. The ability to speak with intention and be heard not just by his ears, but by his heart. Understanding the psychology behind male attraction is a game changer. Because once you understand why men are drawn to certain women, you stop guessing and start connecting on a deeper level. Attraction for men isn't just visual. Though physical appeal can open the door, it's emotional energy that keeps them coming back. At a psychological level, men are deeply attracted to how a woman makes them feel about themselves when they're around her. It's not about flattery or ego stroking. It's about emotional safety, curiosity, and inspiration. When a man is in the presence of a high-value woman, he senses something rare. She doesn't need him to complete her, but she invites him into a space that feels exciting, calming, and real. That blend of warmth and self-possession triggers a man's desire to pursue, protect, and connect. This is biological and psychological. Men are wired to be drawn to women who show softness without emotional chaos, who can express without attacking, and who receive without demanding. Another key part of male attraction is mystery, not in a manipulative or secretive way, but in the sense that a high-value woman doesn't reveal everything at once. She lets a connection unfold, creating space for curiosity. She's not overly available, not constantly seeking reassurance, and not broadcasting her emotions in every interaction. That restraint, that grounded self-respect, makes a man feel like he's discovering her, not consuming her. Also, men are highly sensitive to tone and nonverbal communication. A woman's voice, her body language, her eye contact, these things create subconscious signals that can either open the door to intimacy or shut it entirely. Confidence, softness, and presence are far more influential than the actual words spoken. Ultimately, the psychology of attraction is about energy. Men are drawn to women who own their emotions, lead with grace, and stay rooted in their value, not women who try to earn love by proving themselves. And the most attractive thing of all, a woman who knows she's enough, without needing to be told. Speaking from feminine power isn't about being louder, softer, or nicer. It's not about sugarcoating or being submissive. It's about grounding yourself in your own truth, owning your emotional world, and expressing yourself with a blend of softness and certainty that instantly shifts the dynamic between you and a man. When you speak from feminine power, you're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're not trying to convince, correct, or control. You're simply expressing what's real for you, from a place of calm presence rather than emotional chaos. And here's the key. Feminine power isn't reactive. It's responsive. It listens first. It feels before it speaks. One of the simplest yet most powerful tools is using I language instead of you accusations. For example, instead of saying you never make time for me, which puts a man on the defensive, you might say, I feel disconnected when we don't spend intentional time together. That one shift invites connection instead of conflict, and it models emotional maturity. Feminine power also shows up in how you hold space. You're not rushing to fill silences or interrupting out of anxiety. You allow pauses. You let your words land. You create an energetic container that says, I trust myself. I don't need to force anything. That space gives men permission to step up, speak honestly, and engage more fully. Another major aspect is vocal tone. You don't have to speak in a whisper, but feminine energy often shows up in a warm, grounded tone, not a high-pitched or overly animated one. Think calm, clear, and intentional. You're speaking to be heard, not just to be loud. Also remember that emotions are not weaknesses, they are power, but power comes in how you express them. A woman who can say, "That made me feel hurt, and I want to understand what happened," shows far more strength than someone who yells, shuts down, or plays it cool when she's really not. Vulnerability paired with emotional control is one of the strongest forms of feminine energy. Don't be afraid to slow things down, either. High-value feminine communication isn't rushed. It's not performative. When you slow your pace, it signals self-trust and presence. It gives both of you room to feel rather than just react. And here's the secret. When you speak from your feminine power, you don't need perfect words. Your energy does the heavy lifting. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're fully embodied in who you are. That presence is unforgettable. Feminine power in speech is soft but firm, expressive but intentional, emotional but clear. It's the voice of a woman who knows what she feels, knows what she needs, and trusts that the right man will meet her there. No pushing, no performing, no pretending. Words are more than just sounds. They're emotional cues. And when you use the right words with a man, you're not just talking, you're triggering emotional bonding at a deep unconscious level. This is where true intimacy begins. And it's not about manipulation or performance. It's about choosing language that opens hearts instead of building walls. Emotional bonding happens when a man feels seen, safe, and significant in your presence. And that happens through words that affirm, reflect, and invite, not criticize, compete, or control. Let's start with something simple but powerful. That makes sense. These 3 words may seem basic, but they're incredibly effective at creating connection. Why? Because they validate his experience. You're not necessarily agreeing with him, you're telling him you understand where he's coming from. And understanding is one of the most underrated forms of emotional intimacy. Another phrase that creates bonding. Tell me more. This shows interest. Not interrogation, not control, just genuine curiosity. Men are often guarded emotionally, not because they don't have feelings, but because they're used to those feelings being minimized or misunderstood. When you invite him to go deeper, without judgment or interruption, you signal that his emotions matter too. Use "I feel" statements instead of accusations. For example, "I feel really connected when we spend uninterrupted time together," versus "You never put your phone down." The first builds closeness. The second builds defensiveness. Men open up emotionally when they feel like they're not being attacked, but invited. Also, don't underestimate the power of affirming language. Words like, "I love how your mind works," "I feel safe with you," "You're really good at making me feel calm." These aren't flattery, they're specific, emotional reflections that speak directly to his identity. They make him feel like a man, not just a partner or a provider. They light up the part of his brain that's wired for bonding, protection, and loyalty. Even simple acknowledgements like "Thank you for being present with me," or "I really value how you handled that," deepen connection. Why? Because emotional bonds form through moments, and language captures those moments with intention. Here's another powerful technique. Speak your vulnerability without fear. Say things like, "It's a little hard for me to talk about this, but I want to because I care about us." That level of openness, paired with softness, creates space for his vulnerability to come forward too. Finally, remember that your tone and timing matter just as much as your words. Don't force bonding when he's distracted, stressed, or shut down. Choose moments of peace. Let your words land. Let silence work for you. The right words, spoken from truth and emotional presence, don't just make a man listen, they make him feel. And once he feels emotionally bonded with you, he's no longer just interested, he's invested. Magnetic communication is what makes a woman unforgettable. It's the way she speaks that leaves a man thinking about her long after the conversation ends, not because she said something outrageous, but because her energy made him feel something real. Let's walk through real examples of what magnetic communication looks and sounds like in action. and why it works. Imagine this. You're on a date, and instead of defaulting to surface-level small talk, you say, I love learning what makes people come alive. What's something that always lights you up, even on your worst days? This is magnetic because it shifts the energy from casual to personal. You're not just chatting, you're inviting depth, which most men rarely experience. Here's another. A man opens up to you about something vulnerable. Maybe he had a hard day, or he's sharing a frustration. Instead of offering solutions, you say, I really admire how you handled that. That couldn't have been easy. Thank you for trusting me with it. That sentence hits on multiple levels: respect, validation, and emotional intimacy. That's feminine power in its most attractive form. Magnetic communication also shows up in how you handle boundaries. For example, instead of reacting or snapping when a man crosses a line, try this: I really value our connection, and I want it to feel good for both of us. That didn't feel good to me, and I'd love if we could handle it differently next time. That's calm, clear, and confident, and it holds the relationship to a higher standard without creating drama. Even playful moments can be magnetic. Let's say he teases you, and you respond with a smile. Careful charm like that could be dangerous if I wasn't already emotionally stable. It's flirty, light, but also shows self-awareness. You're not just reacting, you're creating a moment that's fun and emotionally intelligent. And in more tender moments, magnetic communication sounds like, I feel so safe just being quiet with you right now. You don't have to fix it. I just like knowing you're here. Being around you feels easy, and I don't take that lightly. These phrases anchor emotion into the experience. They let a man feel not just admired, but understood. And that's rare. The secret to magnetic communication is that it's always rooted in presence. You're not trying to impress, manipulate, or perform. You're in the moment, listening just as much as you speak, and allowing your words to reflect authenticity, warmth, and confidence. Men remember how a woman makes them feel, not just how she looks. And when your words consistently feel safe, playful, curious, and grounded, that's what makes you magnetic. Not louder, not more effort, just more you, expressed with calm, feminine power. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace and preserving your self-respect. And when a high-value woman sets a boundary, she does it like a queen, with grace, clarity, and calm strength. A queen doesn't explain her worth. She embodies it, and that's exactly how you approach boundaries in your communication. Not from defensiveness, not from fear of losing someone, but from the deep knowing that your energy is sacred, and not everything or everyone gets unlimited access to it. One of the biggest shifts in high-value communication is realizing that a boundary isn't a punishment. It's information. It's simply you saying, here's how I function best. Here's what honors my emotional space. Here's what I will and won't accept. And when that message is delivered with calm certainty, not emotional charge, it actually invites more respect, not less. For example, if a man constantly texts you late at night without investing in real time together, a low-value reaction might be ignoring it or lashing out. But Queen Energy would say something like, I love connecting with you, but I value quality time more than late-night texts. Let me know when you're ready for something real. No drama, no threats, just truth, clear and powerful. Or let's say someone crosses a line emotionally. Maybe he jokes in a way that makes you uncomfortable. Instead of laughing it off or getting reactive, you could say, I know you didn't mean harm, but that comment didn't sit right with me. I want us to be able to talk openly, but with respect. You're not tearing him down, you're raising the standard of the connection. Queens don't need to yell or prove their point. They speak from self-trust, and that's what makes boundaries stick. It's not about getting the other person to agree. It's about staying in alignment with yourself, regardless of how they respond. The real test of feminine power is how you show up when someone resists your boundary. Do you collapse and explain yourself? Or do you stay calm, restated, and rooted in your truth? The woman who doesn't back down, even if her voice shakes a little, earns a different kind of respect, both from others and from herself. And here's what's magnetic. When you set a boundary with softness, it doesn't push the right man away. It pulls him closer. Why? Because high-quality men crave structure, clarity, and a woman who knows what she stands for. She becomes the safe space, because she honors herself first. So setting boundaries like a queen isn't about building walls, It's about building standards. And when you lead with love, but stay rooted in your worth, you teach others how to love you better, not less. Getting a man to open up emotionally can feel like trying to crack a secret code. But the truth is, men want to connect just as deeply as women do. They often just need the right environment and communication style to feel safe enough to share what's inside. First and foremost, creating emotional openness starts with building safety. Men are wired to protect their vulnerabilities, especially if past experiences taught them to hide their feelings. When you approach him with judgment, impatience, or pressure, it triggers his defense mechanisms, causing him to shut down or pull away. Instead, show him through your words and actions that it's okay to be real with you. No masks, no pretenses. One powerful way to build this safety is through active listening. That means fully tuning in when he talks, without interrupting, fixing, or immediately offering solutions. Sometimes men just want to be heard, not fixed. When you listen deeply and validate what he's sharing, even if it's just a small frustration, it opens the door for more trust and vulnerability. Next, be mindful of your tone and body language. Softness, eye contact, and a calm, steady voice signal to him that he's not in danger of judgment or criticism. Your presence becomes a safe harbor where he can lower his guard. This is far more effective than pushing him with direct questions or pressing for answers when he's not ready. Another important tip is to share your own emotions first, but in a way that invites, not overwhelms. When you model vulnerability, you create an unspoken permission for him to do the same. Instead of dumping everything at once, start small with something genuine but manageable, like sharing how a particular day made you feel, or a little worry you had. This shows him that emotional sharing is safe, mutual, and even healing. Avoid interrogations disguised as checking in. Questions like, "Why don't you ever talk about your feelings?" or "What's wrong with you?" create pressure and shame. Instead, use open-ended invitations like, "I'd love to understand what you're thinking about," or "Whenever you feel like sharing, I'm here." These phrases give him control and reduce the risk of feeling overwhelmed. It's also important to remember that emotional openness doesn't happen overnight. Patience is key. Celebrate small wins. Maybe he shares a thought he usually keeps to himself, or he responds when you ask gently how he's feeling. Recognize these moments as progress, not the finish line. Lastly, respect his unique way of processing emotions. Some men open up verbally, while others show feelings through actions or quiet gestures. Don't force a style that feels unnatural to him. Instead, appreciate his efforts to connect in his own way. In essence, getting him to open up emotionally is about creating a space filled with trust, patience, and genuine curiosity. A place where he feels seen without judgment and valued without conditions. When you speak from that place, you become the invitation he can't resist. As we wrap up this journey into how high-value women talk to men, I want to leave you with a powerful reminder: the way you communicate is one of the most potent tools you have, not just for attracting the right man, but for creating the kind of relationship you truly deserve. It's not about playing games trying to be someone you're not, or following complicated scripts. It's about owning your energy, speaking your truth, and setting standards that honor your worth. Your words carry more weight than you might realize. They shape how a man sees you, how he feels about himself around you, and ultimately how deeply he wants to invest in the connection. When you speak from a place of feminine power, calm, confident, and clear, you invite respect, curiosity, and emotional intimacy effortlessly. But here's the key. This isn't about perfection. You don't need to get everything right every time. What matters is your intent and your awareness. Each conversation is an opportunity to practice, to show up more fully, and to strengthen your emotional presence. Mistakes will happen, and that's okay. Growth happens in the imperfect moments too. So, what's your next step? Start by tuning into your own communication patterns. Notice where you might be giving too much away, rushing to fill silence, or speaking from a place of fear rather than confidence. Then begin making small shifts. Maybe it's pausing before you respond, using "I feel" statements, or simply practicing more active listening. Remember, becoming a high-value woman in how you talk is a process. It takes time, patience, and self-compassion. But every step you take brings you closer to the kind of connection that feels easy, authentic, and deeply satisfying. You deserve a relationship where you're seen, heard, and valued for exactly who you are. And when you speak from that place, the right man won't just be interested, he'll be all in. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more empowering content. Share your thoughts below. What's one communication habit you're excited to work on? I'd love to hear from you. Your voice is your power. Use it wisely, and watch how your love life transforms.